We're going to call to order the Town of Hanson Planning Board meeting for August 14th, 2023, here at the Town of Hanson Planning Board meeting room down in the Selectman's office, at the time being 6:30. I'd like to also announce for all those in attendance that this meeting is being recorded for distribution on the Whitman Hanson Community Access. Playback times and other related information on this recording can be found at WHCA.tv. Again, that's WHCA.tv. Generally, postings go up within a week after the meetings have happened. We've gone over some procedural tasks or requests of the audience, silence and cell phones, and make sure that we get everybody signed in. We have a full board here tonight, so the full board is present, as well as our town planner and our administrative assistant for the town planner office. So we'll go into the first item of agenda on our agenda. It's a public hearing, 6:30 p.m. Application for improvements to a private way, Snow Street, in conjunction with proposed construction activity at 0 Snow Street, Assessors Map 1, lots 1282 inclusive, has been filed by Alan Diaz, trustee, in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 81M of the Subdivision Control Law, and Sections 12D of the Hanson zoning bylaws. We have a procedural matter we need to take care of.
I'd like to recuse myself.
Invite Don Ellis, member Don Ellis is going to recuse himself for the time frame of this 6:30 public hearing.
That's
Great, we'll come and get you when we're at the end of it. So just a few moments, ladies and gentlemen, we'll let Mr. Ellis leave the room.
Can't get out of it. Don't get going.
You can? Anybody taking a request?
Let's go.
Please let the record show that the time is 6:32 and that Mr. Ellis has left the meeting room. Town planner.
Mr. Chair, this is a continuance of the public hearing for the improvements to private way. I believe Mr. Diaz is here with his attorney to present the project to the board. So, give you the floor.
Good evening. My name is Walter Sullivan. I'm an attorney from Norwell representing the applicant, Alan Diaz, trustee. And we are here for this improvement under Section 12B of the bylaw and subdivision control regulation of Mass General Laws. Several of the beneficiaries of the trust are here with us as well. If it meets with the pleasure of the board, I would like to have Mr. Diaz just go over briefly the improvement plan, and then I'll touch upon why we think we satisfy the standards for approval of the improvement plan. So I'd ask Mr. Diaz just to sort of go over a plan that we have here. It might make sense, Alan, to refer to...
I do have a plan here that Alan Diaz, Snow Street, Halifax. And I'll start at Montparnasse Street. You can see that the existing Snow Street averages somewhere between 60 and 18 feet wide for the first 500 to 600 feet. What I am proposing to do is on the westerly side of Snow Street, it says existing brush and the gravel berm. Our plan is to remove that gravel berm, remove all that undergrowth, so that the effluent that's currently coming off of Snow Street, which is gravel, will be able to travel back into that area and stay off the street to sort of minimize potholes. There is drainage in there that was put in by a prior applicant, and our proposal is strictly to go in, clean that area up. It's going to be anywhere from 200 to 250 feet from Snow Street that will go up. There have been some large trees and stumps. I'm not going to touch that stuff. We'll get the last 25 years of growth, brush, trees, in the gravel berm out there.
Okay, thank you, Alan. So, just by way of historical background, this lot was created in 1888. The Snow Street was deeded to the Hanson Improvement Association in around that time, and we did submit a deed evidencing that. This is a Residence A district. The lot contains 30,000 square feet with 230 feet of frontage on Snow Street. The width of the road, as Mr. Diaz indicated, is anywhere from 16 to 18 feet of processed material. We submitted so sufficient width, grade, and adequate construction. There is some old drainage in there, and Alan is going to improve that area and clean it out. We have seen comments that I think are part of the board's file indicating that there are either no objection or support for the proposal from building, conservation, fire, the chief of police, and the water department. It's clear that Mr. Diaz is going to make the road more accessible and benefit everybody on the street. It's our position that he meets the requirements of the town bylaw under 12D for improvement. We would ask that the board approve this tonight based on the materials submitted, including support, unanimous support from the town department heads. Be happy to answer any questions from the board.
Council, thank you. Board members, do you have any questions?
I know that Mr. Clemens is here. If you have anything.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Seeing no comments or questions from the board, I'm going to open it up. This is a public hearing, so everyone that's here in attendance, does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Jennifer Chapman,
Jennifer Chapman.
925 Mount Ponset Street.
Thank you.
So, 2 questions, because the way that Snow Street is driven now, and you can see it on his map up there, there's a driveway in the middle of the road. The road goes through the house at 915 Mount Ponset Street. My lot, which runs 58 down Snow Street, is not fenced to its lines in any way, shape, or form, and it is my property that is driven over currently at the end of that road. So I definitely want to make sure that none of that is touched, and he would need to be 100% certain that none of my property is touched. Number 1. Number 2, I would like to know who's performing the work on Snow Street, since Mr. Dees has a permanent injunction barring him from doing work on Snow Street.
Thank you. So your first question, to address that, I believe that your lot is past the improvement plan. Am I correct?
No, so the way he plans on making improvements would actually be on our property. Where Snow Street is right now, when you enter Snow Street, in order to enter Snow Street, you have to drive on our property. The driveway, over to the right, where it says paved driveway, is the road.
And your lot is
Opposite that.
Yep.
is opposite that.
Yes.
I don't believe that that's an accurate depiction of the lot lines there, so that's why I stated if he's going to touch it, he needs to be certain that he is touching that, except he can't touch it because he's been ordered not to do anything on Snow Street.
Tom,
By the Board of Selectmen,
Tom, can you
sorry.
pull up the GIS map?
Give me a minute. Just do a quick search.
Coming on, turn it on. You're the 1256?
Yep. Street is not curved, it runs straight. Where you enter on that side is mine.
So we're seeing about an inch down from the intersection at the start of the proposed improvement is to remove all the brush in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, do you have anything on file that talks about a restriction for doing the work on Snow Street?
I'm not aware of that. I mean, I know there was a court case, but I had not delved into that to look for that.
Okay.
That's never come up.
Can I ask a question, Joe?
Mr. Kevin?
The area where it says existing brush, dirt, and berm to be eliminated, which is the scope of work that we're talking about, is that your property?
In the top corner it is.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Council?
So we'll obviously comply with all court orders, and we had it surveyed. We're going to rely upon a survey. If the abutter has some information that calls it in question, we'll certainly look at it. But in terms of, I think, the determinations that this board makes, we put before the board a survey plan certified by a registered surveyor. We're going to comply with that. If there's private property rights that they want to contest, whether it's adverse possession or the other, we'll have to deal with that independently with the private property rights of the private property owner as opposed to the town.
You're asking the town to
One
approve?
moment, please. So the determining factor here is, as we found, correct, Tony, we found that the town does own the road as far as taxes go. That was pre-taken
Back in the 40s.
40s, yeah. So had we had determination about whether or not that is center of the road? I don't think we ever got that determination, correct?
I think there was question there. I
Right.
found something way back that I'd found some paperwork from a different attorney's office that said that the town had taken the road. They felt, I think that they felt that the fee was not an issue.
Actually, I think town council was unable to weigh in. When there was a request. My notes from council. Bear with me for a moment, folks. Yeah, we had a letter from council. And I pull another fact that the town may take it through tax title likely means that it was in a separate ownership and possibly is not subject to the derelict fee statute. Town council states, I cannot tell you, however, whether the derelict fee statute applies because such a conclusion would be dependent on analysis of the history of the conveyance to the abutting property owners.
If I might, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Tom Fenner.
So the property is further up the road, it sits at the top of the hill. The roadway is 18 feet wide, it's compacted gravel, it's a good condition, relatively good condition. The lot Mr. Diaz is creating is actually going to conform to zoning with proper frontage and area. He has a septic plan for a single family. His property actually does not create runoff onto this road. It actually slopes away from the road. I mean, he is, providing an improvement. He's proposing an improvement. I mean, if there's concerns, let's say, by the abutters of who's doing the work, I don't think that the board would be going out on a limb by saying that, okay, he's doing what he's being asked, which is an improvement to the private way. So let's say we take this plan, we know that the town highway department goes down that road at least twice a year to grade it. If they use this plan to grade that road, they would do the work. And at least that way, the applicant is not spending money to do the work and then have the town come in 2 months later and just
Change the grade.
change the grade again. So this is something that could go on file with the highway department, they could grade it at that time to these elevations and clear out the brush. And that way it'd be the town doing the work versus the applicant. That's something that might be acceptable.
Ms. Chapman, did you have another comment?
So you're saying the town's now gonna take his plan and put it, regardless, I don't want anything that's mine touched.
Okay.
Great, Julie, no, thank you. Anybody else here for the public hearing have any other comments?
I mean, so making note of that, I mean, if the town does just the town goes in there twice a year to grade the road.
Yeah.
So they could use this information to grade the road, which would still be an improvement.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I say something else,
Ms.
please?
Chapman,
It-
say it right, Chapman, is that right?
yeah.
Chapman, thank you.
And he did indicate that it has already had improvements previously from another applicant, which is completely true, but within 6 months, it was completely destroyed, and it worked. And it's due to the way it's plowed. It's beyond just when they come down. Grading would mean that they would be taking out all of the stuff they have dumped in there, which consistently makes it worse. I want the road to be better, but the more you dump on it, it is simply not going to get better. It needs to be graded and actually graded. I get that they're telling you they go there 2 times a year. I work from home, and they do not grade that 2 times a year. It doesn't happen. It gets filled, and it's a mess. I'm not trying to prevent the road from being better. Has never worked, and it keeps getting crap dumped on it.
But that is, if I may, Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
so
absolutely, Tom.
the stuff that's being dumped, who's doing it? Is it,
The town,
okay. So basically the town needs to fix it. Would that be a fair statement? Because
Yeah.
they're causing it.
100%.
Okay, so would you rather, so if that was the case, you'd like to see the town do something to say to correct it?
They're gonna make the back road better, yeah, the town should make the road better. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but there's
So if
yet
they
to be
use-
something that has actually happened
Okay.
and worked.
So,
Ever.
but I'm saying if they use this plan to say, correct the
I
road,
still don't want them touching my property.
okay, so how would you propose that they address fixing the problem without,
That's
That's their problem.
That's not there.
Yeah. You guys can keep filling the road and dumping, and others record it every time, and it's illegal dumping, it's okay. Let them carry on. It's okay, that's all.
But you,
I'm just trying to come up with a
Tom, I would-
No,
solution.
I understand what you're doing, I understand, I'm just saying, I'm not giving, I'm not.
Yeah.
I could have put my fence up to my property line, I haven't done that, I'm not trying to impede anybody's use of the road. I'm simply unwilling for any activity to be cleared out in that area, because it's mine. I pay enough for taxes in this town.
duly noted, thank you. Any other comments from the board? Tom Planner?
No.
Council?
Just to address that concern one more time, is that we have a survey plan, the only evidence before the board. We're gonna follow that, but we will work with the town. I think an appropriate condition would be if the town doesn't do the work, that my client has to do it under the supervision of the town employee or consultant. He would obviously pay. Private property owners would have the opportunity to object. This is the only survey plan before the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Seeing no other further comments or questions?
Yes, was this?
Ms. Chapman.
Who surveyed? Who was your surveyor?
It's on
I can't,
Webby Engineering
Webby.
Associates?
I think,
Thank you.
I can, if you,
I just witnessed him surveying it himself, so I wanted to see whose name was on it. Thank you.
this is public record, so if you want, leave your email, I can
I
send it to
already
you.
did that, I'm
Okay.
good, thank you.
No other comments or concerns? I entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So moved. And the motion's been made by Mr. Kevin.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded by Mr. Cohen to close the public hearing in regards to tonight's 6:30 appointment for application for improvement to private way Snow Street in conjunction with the proposed construction activity, 0 Snow Street, accessories map 1, lot 1282 inclusive, has been filed by Alan Diaz, trustee, in accordance with the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 81M of the Subdivision Control Law, and Section 12D of the Hanson zoning bylaws. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all's in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 401, Tony. The hearing is closed. Thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just to make I'm sure the applicant's aware, and so is his counsel, but the board will have 60 days after the public hearing is closed to issue a written decision. So just so you're aware, 60 days. They'll deliberate in open session, probably at the next meeting on the 28th, if it's the 20th of August. If not, I can let you know when.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a brief recess to make the room clear before we go on to our 6:40 continued public hearing request. I think so.
Just for the record, Mr. Chair, both recorders are still going.
How you doing?
Maybe he did go to Dunkin' Donuts.
sit.
There you go. See.
Just not as well yet. What you're from.
It's 6:52. Please let the record show that Member Ellis has returned to our meeting. We are further along in our agenda. In regards to 6:40, now 6:52, continued public hearing request for continuance Meadowbrook Farms Residential Subdivision. Town planner.
The Meadowbrook Farms, Morse Engineering had requested a continuance. Verdantis also needed a little extra time for their third peer review. The expectation is on the 28th that Verdantis and the applicant and the engineer will be here to address all the revisions and comments made not only by Verdantis, but I believe the Conservation Commission's review engineer. I believe that the applicant is going before the Conservation Commission on Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 16th. And they believe that they've addressed most, if not all, the comments of the Conservation Commission, but that's a different scenario. So they're looking for a continuation to the 28th of August, where they'll come in, they'll present everything, and we can hash everything out, and hopefully, if the board is satisfied, possibly close the hearing, or if there is any other issues, continue the hearing. But everything will be addressed at that time.
Great.
So motion to continue?
We have before us, I've got a letter extension of time for decision of Hanson Planning Board, based from the applicant, subdivision plan, Meadowbrook subdivision, request until 8/28/2023, officially stamped on August 11th at the planning board office. What's the will of the board?
Motion to approve the continuance.
There's been a motion made to continue the hearing.
Yeah.
Motion's been made and seconded. Motion's been properly made and seconded by Mr. Ellis. Any discussion in regards to that motion?
Who seconded? Is
John
that-
Allen.
John, okay.
Seeing no
Thank you.
discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Pass that down to 20, please. We now have we're back on track. Going to our appointments on our agenda, we have a 6:55 PM approval not required 223 East Washington Street, map 99, lot 4. Applicant for Eric and Melissa Wilson, plan prepared by Steinbeck and Taylor Incorporated. Do we have the applicant here?
Not the applicant and the surveyor.
The surveyor.
Yes.
You would be Mr. Savant?
Yep, Richard Savant, yeah.
Mr. Savant. Nice to meet you, Mr. Savant. Thank you for coming.
Pleasure to meet everybody. What's going on?
He's over
Yep.
here.
Oh,
Boy. So, Mr. Savant, you have the floor.
sure.
Tony, you want to pull that up on the?
Yep.
Sorry. We jumped you.
So essentially, the homeowners here have recently purchased this property. There is enough area to create a separate building lot under the hammerhead provision. It does have the adequate frontage, leaving the existing home with the proper area and frontage allows them to create this hammerhead access up into the rear portion of the lot, which does meet the criteria for buildable lot area. Less the access portion and any wetlands, and it does comply with that. And as far as the best of my knowledge, it meets all the requirements for this section of the bylaws as far as hammerhead goes. It was reviewed by the planner earlier. He was nice enough to take a draft to go through. We went through a few things together that I missed and revised the plan to update and add that information. And this is what you see in front of you. I believe a complete compliant new lot.
Thank you, Mr. Savant. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have one.
Mr. Kemet?
I always ask this question. It says wetland flag delineated by ECR on 5/24/23. Is that registered?
Yes, he is. That's
Okay.
Brad Holmes.
Okay.
Yes. It absolutely is. Yes. ECR, the company is out of Plymouth. And I don't know why I can't give you it's environmental something in restoration. I can't think of the full name of it, but yes, it is. He's a biologist, wetland scientist, and biologist.
Mr. Chair.
Town planner.
I've gone through the checklist. We're missing a few things with the draft. They've corrected all those, so they comply with the checklist. The only thing with this plan is the board can endorse it, but according to the Treasurer Collector's Office, there's an outstanding balance with that office as of August 1st. So realistically, though, that has nothing to do with whether this plan meets the requirements of an A&R. It does. So I think the board can endorse this plan in the Mylar, but we should hold it until that balance is addressed.
For the record, environmental consulting and restoration.
Thank you very
LLC.
much.
You're welcome.
I know it well, I just couldn't think of it tonight.
Town planner has confirmed that the A&R checklist is complete. Further offered some information in regards to the town's assessor's office, fees. Treasurer's office, thanks for the correction. Yeah, treasurer's office. Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve with the condition for the tax issue.
Yeah, balance at the Treasurer
So,
Collector's
yeah,
Office.
I'll make that part of the motion. So,
Mr. Cameron has a motion on the floor to approve the A&R with the condition that we hold the signatures until the issue is cleared up with the tax office.
Not hold signatures, but hold the Mylar.
Hold the Mylar, correction, hold the Mylar.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're doing the one Mylar?
Yep, there's one Mylar, and I would suggest to just sign one of the paper copies as well.
There you go.
I have informed the applicant about the tax issue, and so he needs to get down here and get that cleared up.
And just for clarification, sir, the Mylar is only going to have my signature on it because this dubious board has designated me as the only one that needs to be responsible for signing things.
Fair enough. All right, I'll be in touch. I'll wait until
Thank you.
it's cleared up. Appreciate
Okay,
your
fine.
time.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Today is.
Who made the motion on that one?
It was, going.
Wonderful. Moving right along. Still on time, look at that, 7 PM. 7 PM, we're moving on, appointments to our master plan update, discussion with Laurie Muncy and Joanne Zygmunt. Zygmunt. The vote of the Old Colony Planning Council regarding the status of the master plan process. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I might,
Town planner.
for the record, for the USB?
No, that, the keys might be Kenny Mitchell's, he's sat in front of us.
Oh, okay,
His truck's outside, so he won't be going far without those.
okay.
We just emailed you a copy of, this synopsis, so that you may have on the screen.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll put you guys the extras.
Thank you. Oh, if you have extra.
I do, yeah.
For the record, Mr. Chair, just to let you know, I did invite, I sent out an email to all the departments in the town hall, including fire, police, historical commission, Camp Kawani, everyone that might be involved. Looks like Mr. Clemens is the only one who took up the invite.
Wasn't a refugee from the last one.
So,
Years ago.
this is Kenny Mitchell's?
I think
You
he's
think?
sat in front of me.
Okay. I'll take these out.
At a meeting tonight,
Yeah, just now.
Kenny Mitchell was here,
Yeah,
didn't see him.
yeah, he's sat in front of me. You missed it.
Okay, you said you sent the email to me
Just now.
just now? For some reason, it's still in the system.
Sounds like a lunch club.
You remember the last time?
Want to make for Mr. Clemens to return?
If you'd like, it's up to you.
For the record, Mr. Clemens is on attendance from Conservation, I'm assuming, he's here from Conservation.
Yeah.
I don't know where else he could be from. Any one of the other 15 committees that he and many of us are on?
Nobody ever shows up to these things, so that's no surprise.
When we go to meet with them for, gathering information, which are during the day when they're captive,
Yeah, there
they
you go.
can't get away from us.
Yeah.
What about them through Tony? I can resend it tomorrow.
Yeah, you know what it is? I bet the new security measures, it's probably caught in the matrix. So I'll get it,
The Matrix.
but I just haven't received it yet.
Take the red pill or the blue pill? So for the record, we want to make sure that we know, that on the record that Mr. Clemens is here. Thank you for attending, Mr. Clemens, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And OCPC, please take it away.
Right here you have an outline of what we're proposing to go through with this master plan. I wasn't sure if you were going to have a steering committee or if the planning board was going to be in charge of this project. So those are one of the answers that I need to clear up tonight. If there is going to be a steering committee, I'll need the names and contact information from all of them. But if it's just going to be the planning board, I know 3 of you, there's a couple I don't know, so I'll need that contact information. So this is really just informal. This week we'll have your community profile ready for you. It's like 90% done, but it wasn't ready for tonight, so I'll get it to you by the end of this week. And that'll provide the basis, the foundation for where we build the plan off of, which are current demographics. Basically, occupations, where people are living, how they're living. And then we'll go through the process to get us to the end. We hope to close this project by June 30th. That's the deadline for the grant. So we just got started in July, so it's a condensed schedule. So like in February, we're going to be really busy doing some focus groups and some workshops we can do. But that's going to be necessary to get the data that we need to develop your vision the way you want to grow.
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Kenneth?
So on the, it says survey resident public thoughts, opinion, enhance the place. So the survey, who's going to facilitate that?
We, yeah, you too. She's the
So
survey.
we'll draft the survey. We'll run it through Tony to make sure that everything looks fine with it. And then we'll make it live, so it'll go both on, it'll be available both in an online format. I don't know if folks have used a SurveyMonkey survey before, but it's like Zoom nowadays. Everybody's pretty familiar with the portal itself. So it'll be available online that way, and we'll also make it available in hard copy at places in the community. So library, town hall, wherever we think it's worth putting a stack there with a box to collect hard copies, council on aging, that sort of thing.
Okay.
We'll also work with Tony to directly send it to folks too, so all the committees, all the different boards, any volunteer organizations in the town. And what we'll be working with the steering committee with, whether that's this board here or a separate group that's set up, is to help promote that over the 3 months that it's going to be out. So that will be all the kind of traditional marketing methods, plus some of the newer media, like social media, and flyers in the community, things like that.
We're also going to give a handout at town meeting. I know you guys usually have the special town meeting in October. This will have a QR code where people can get a brief update of what's going on and where they can complete the survey.
You know, there's one other question, if you don't mind, Joe. I know, like in CPC, we had a visioning session where people were invited and their thoughts and ideas were collated and discussed and put into a document. Is that something you guys are going to do as well?
Yeah, we're going to start with the survey, so we'll have
Okay.
the results from the survey that we'll analyze and pull into a findings document. But after that, we're going to then use that, plus the community profile and some other work that's being developed, to then inform some focus groups that we want to hold, probably sometime in November. So the focus groups we'll do with key informants from the community, so we have yet to determine what those focus groups will be, because we want to work with the committee to determine the most important topics. But for example, if housing was selected, then we do a focus group specifically on housing, inviting, for example, any housing advocates known within the community, or folks that are, particularly interested in it, that might be on the select board or a different board. And then we'll summarize those results from those focus groups, present them to the committee, and then the bigger kind of public workshop process, where we'll do more interactive visioning work, and we'll get some maps out and have people put dots on them and that sort of thing. That's scheduled right now for January and February. So there'll be a series of probably 4 of them, which then will culminate after the process, kind of plays out, it'll culminate in a final one where the draft is presented. So that will be the final opportunity for the whole plan to be reviewed by the community.
So I guess my concern was that, I wanted to see community involvement. It sounds like you're all over it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Fun times.
Yeah, but that's one of the big things we'll work with the committee on, is making sure the folks that live here know the community best, right? I can look on Facebook and see what the popular groups are, but chances are I'll miss most of them. So that's why we need to work with the committee to help us make sure we hit all the right places.
Awesome.
Does the board want to reach out to the Board of Selectmen in regards to a steering committee, or do you want to have the steering committee developed out of our own? Well, obviously there'll be members of our own planning board. Do you want the planning board to do outreach in regards to subcommittee or steering committee?
Make a suggestion that we be the steering committee, but invite the selectmen to weigh in, come, spend some time, listen.
And have input from other boards and other committees?
But we can talk about that in,
If we did that every time there was a steering committee meeting, you'd have to post it publicly. You want to take 2 members of the planning board to do that? No. Will that be suffice? 2 members of the planning board to help kind of core root the steering committee?
Sure.
And then
Yeah, whatever you guys want to do.
reach out to the select board. It's either that or we could reach out ourselves. Trying to remember, can we create a subcommittee of our own board? Barring any difficulties, I think that we can create a subcommittee of our own board.
I think that you can, yeah.
We
I'd
have 2 members.
have to look that up. Yeah, I think you
As well
can.
as reach out and advertise with the select board. The planning board has a steering committee for the master plan, rooted by 2 members inside of it. I think that, yeah, I do believe that we can.
We can double
We
check
can
that.
put an outreach out there, so that way because I'm sure there's probably committee after committee after committee that the select board is dealing with.
Maybe have some members of the conservation committee.
Sure.
If selected here.
Yeah, I was hoping to have a little bit more involvement other than just one person.
Yeah, we can always count on Phil.
That's
No
true.
matter
I mean,
what, so-
I had invited everyone, every board.
We'll be going to them.
I invited every board, every department, and so I'm a little disappointed that only one person showed up.
No, I think we could do that as a motion to start the root base of the steering committee, and then from there, we could ask for volunteers, and then we could let the select board know through the town planner's office that we have a steering committee that the board of select board could outreach and have planner office speak out of point of contact.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Clements.
I just want to support what Mr. Pierce just said. My experience 15 years ago, and actually before, because I think 2008 was when we published the existing dusty covered master plan. But it struck me during that process how broadly applicable the whole subject was and how important it was for the content to be correctly vetted and placed forth there, and the expertise and knowledge of many various boards and committees that was available then. And there was a diverse collection of people, which actually over the life of the committee changed a little bit, so there was more than 5, there was probably 8 or 9.
I think there was 9.
That was kind of an enormous task, and for the planning board to bear most of the steering alone, that may be great, but however, whatever it takes to, as Mr. Freya says, to engage the other resource people and officials, pretty important, in my opinion. And conservation will be delighted to somehow, in some way, somewhat maybe in addition to what I said myself, participate, since half the plan has to probably is under the jurisdiction of conservation. It's a good point, and we appreciate hearing it.
So we entertain a motion to create a steering committee, which will be a subcommittee of the planning board.
Make that motion.
Motion will be made by Mr. Cohen.
Second.
Motion's been made by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Mr. Benonato in regards to the creation of a steering committee, subcommittee from the planning board. Any discussion in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries 5-0, so we will have a subcommittee of the planning board, steering subcommittee, planning board, master plan.
So can I ask you a question?
Mr. Kevin?
You guys, at some point, even though we're creating a steering committee, right, you're gonna go to the Conservation Commission and discuss whatever open space portions of that are gonna be done, and same with all the other groups. And I would hope, if you don't mind, I'd like to invite to the CPC meeting at your convenience as well, because a lot of the funding for anything that might happen in here could potentially come from there as well. So I think if you wouldn't mind doing a quick presentation to that committee, we could set something up. If you want to reach out to me, you have my contact information.
That'd be awesome, and if you have any capital improvement plan or plan projects that CPC is considering for the future, that would be helpful to put
Well,
into our report.
We also, and I can send this to you, we had like a visioning session of our own, so, you know, things that we would like to see happen, things like that, so I can forward that to you as well.
Yeah.
That probably needs an update too at this point, but, you know,
Getting
do what
there.
we can.
Town planner.
I also, as part of tonight, I had invited the Hanson Housing Authority because we are looking through the planning board at a couple of potential properties that are under Hanson Housing Authority control for additional affordable housing. So they might be another group to
Is
kind of get
the
involved.
Housing Authority a joint group with another town? I could not recall if you're in
I
with.
think they're trying to. When you ask the question, you're kind of not sure.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because
So-
I remember he worked
Yeah.
with us, and then he went to another town, but I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm not sure who they're affiliated with it, but I can try and find out.
Yeah. Any contact information too for these parties that you want us to reach out?
Absolutely. I can forward you the email that I sent out to everyone that has all their emails as well.
Awesome.
And if you use the town hall staff, there's a town hall staff email. It'll just go, obviously, throughout the town hall,
We'll
all
be working, I
departments.
think we'll be working a lot with you to send messages out.
Sure.
Sort of initially through the town
Yeah.
to stakeholders and respond to it. But just on that point as well too, there'll be multiple ways for the different boards and committees to participate. So some of them will participate as key informants and focus groups. All of them will be participating just as part of the general public participation process. But also, as Mr. Kevin suggested, we'll certainly do some presentations to specific boards as the town and other boards request.
Thank you.
Now that we've created that subcommittee, we've got to create the context of that subcommittee. So some of the things that we need to discuss, how many members on that committee, what departments would we like to see represented, the recommendation for that committee to have a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk. So I think that's something that we should discuss now, so that it's not just out there in the ether, anybody to interpret. So I'm thinking, as Mr. Clemens pointed out, the last go round, I believe there was 9 at the end of it. So would the board approve membership 7 to 9 members? Does that sound too big, too small?
No, I think 9 is not bad. I mean, I know like in CPC, we have 9 members.
Okay.
And sometimes we have trouble, quorum issues because, not all the members show up. So that size and potential quorum issues that arise from that could be an issue. I don't know if we should go to 7, so that it's less likely to be an issue.
7? Okay, so I think we could do 7.
7's gonna be a problem too.
Yeah. What? No, I don't mind, Mr. Ellis.
We have 7 on the committee, the PAC committee, and it can be real dicey, trying to get a quorum.
It's like herding cats.
5 is,
Yeah.
but,
I think 5.
yeah.
So I say 5
This is
to
a little
7?
different situation.
Yeah, it's a
so,
different situation.
You know, so this is all organized and involved the other departments and working with them.
What boards would you say are necessary? Obviously, conservation,
Everyone on the second floor, Conservation, Board of Health, Zoning, Building,
ZBA, building, housing,
Housing Authority should be one.
highway,
Yeah, I think highway. I'm just trying to, if we're trying to limit the number of people.
planning.
How important is highway?
If I may too, Chair.
Yeah, absolutely,
I think
please.
It's important
I'll go for it.
to keep in mind too that the folks that are on this, we're going to be expecting them to do a lot of public outreach on behalf of the process.
Sure.
So typically we see usually some residents involved or non-town staff folks.
Community at large.
Yeah, so either if there's, a big nonprofit or strong community groups in the area, or just some residents who are very active in what's happening in town. That's usually beneficial to have as well. They bring a very different perspective from the staff level.
Do you have a list of stakeholders that you usually use for public hearings and things like that.
So if we go with Conservation, Board of Health, ZBA, Building, Housing Authority, Highway, Planning with 2 members, and the community at large with 1 member, that's 9. So that's,
Well, can I make a suggestion? I wonder if we could just do 2 members from planning, right? Phil's expressed an interest, you know, from the point of the open space.
Sure.
Those are the 2 groups
conservation and open
that,
space.
right, so, those are the 2 groups that have most stake in
Sure.
what's gonna happen. And
Sure.
I think, like you said, I think maybe the rest of them should be people in the community,
Yeah.
rather than, you know, boards and committees, because they're all gonna have to weigh in on this, you know, through you guys anyway. You're gonna go and speak to them all, talk about what their concerns are. So I wonder if, you know, we should open it up to the community a little bit.
So reduce some of the, so maybe take away highway.
Yep.
Increase community at large to 2. Mr. Clement, if approved, would you be holding 2 hats, open space and conservation?
My problem is too many hats, and I think one of the things that's just been said that makes sense is if there are members at large that aren't specifically already on a board or committee, then they won't be burdened with as many hats as the other people
Sure.
around the
Sure.
table. I would just agree that conservation wants to and should be involved, but I don't know how to be more specific at this point. Sort of hearing now how it's going to be approached. There could be another member of the commission, for example, or one of our associate members who could be very useful in this manner.
Alternates. They can come in as at large as well.
Yeah, alternate.
You know, so,
Yeah.
you know, they don't have to come in wearing their hat, they can wear a different one. They choose to.
We have conservation, Board of Health, Zoning Board of Appeals, Building Office, Housing Authority. We've taken the highway off, planning, 2 people, community at large, 2 people. 2, 4. That's 9 still.
So 9 it is.
So 9 it is, okay, so that'll be a,
How about assessors?
that'll be a. And then the recommendation,
That could be a,
and then the recommendation would be for that committee to have a chair, vice chair, and a clerk. Reporting all steering back to the planning office?
Sure.
Planning office and representation from OCPC?
So it makes sense to have the chairman of that steering committee be a member of the planning?
I would think so.
Okay.
All right.
So I probably want to put that in there as well.
So I'd entertain a motion to have the construct of the planning board master plan steering subcommittee being 9 members to be nominated a chair, vice chair, and a clerk. Departments representation of conservation, board of health, ZBA, building department, housing authority, planning board with 2 members, and community at large, 2 members to be posted to be filled.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I may,
Mr. Clements.
at the risk of muddying the water, a part of town government that doesn't get addressed a lot in these things, the water commissioners. Somehow, it would be important, I think, to have drinking water resources considered, and I don't know how to gauge without having more board members on this.
Yeah, that'd be
But-
10.
But I just wanted to mention that for the record. I think their participation in this planning process is vital, at least to anyone who enjoys water.
Before we motion before we motion, is there somebody that would, you want to see, the board would want to see substituted on that list?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Oates.
Couldn't we, as the planning board, how did that do the research? Because I think the water department is pretty much, I don't know, short, stable type industry where if there's big projects coming in, do they have the potential for the water? And that's about it on them to be able to handle. But somebody should work with them at least. But if you add too many people in the pie, it's going to be tough.
Great, Mr. Chairman.
We could still, yeah, Mr. Clements.
Just to clarify, I'm not necessarily proposing adding a person, but their voice is.
Oh, well, absolutely,
Yeah,
they'd be
yeah.
inclusive,
Your-
100%.
I'm not saying they're not.
Your points are well made.
There isn't a single entity in the town within its borders that wouldn't be included.
Hey, Joe, can I ask you a question?
Mr. Kemp?
Do you guys have a list of all the people you're gonna propose to reach out to for, input? So that way we could know, like, all the boards and committees and anyone you feel like you're gonna reach out to, because, I guess it sounds to me like we're struggling with who should we have on the committee and who is necessary, and, who's gonna get reached out and spoken to anyway. What, like I think to have the highway department at every meeting doesn't make sense, because there's only portions of it that apply to them, same as the water department. So I wonder if, having them as committee members, that's where we're gonna start to feel like we're herding cats, because, they're busy and they're gonna end up not showing up for portions of it that don't relate to them.
Yeah.
So the purpose of so our work on the master plan, we report into your planning board.
Mhm.
The steering committee's purpose really is twofold. It's one, to help outreach to the community, so spread the word about the survey, get people involved in the focus group. And then secondly, exactly what you're saying, the purpose of that group is to help make sure that we're taking all the people that we need to be talking to, whether that's community members or organizations or businesses or folks who actually work for the town. So it's less important, I would say, to have all your department heads on it. I think it would be more important, because we're going to be talking to them extensively throughout the process anyway. I would say that's more important to have people on it that know Hanson really well, that can help with the outreach, that have a time commitment of a couple hours a month, and that will kind of turn up and really help push it out. So they really need to know that bigger community insight, more so than kind of the specific details on like water or something.
For the record, what OCPC reps just said we should have as the tagline for that subcommittee. I think that was very well said. So that could be the tagline for the creation of why this steering committee exists.
Well, if you have certain members on that committee that are on a different committee as well.
Yeah, they'll take it.
I know it's a case of they're wearing more than one hat. But for instance, let's say member Cohen was to be on the committee, he'd be representing the planning board and the economic development committee. Mr. Kemet would be representing the CPC and the planning board.
Right.
So you have, depends on who's, not trying to volunteer them for the committees, but if you have people that maybe are on more than one committee, you're sort of getting out to more.
Yeah.
It is a true statement, you don't want to have 1 million people on this committee because you'll never get anywhere.
Sure. Sure. So do we still think that 9 is a sufficient number?
I think, well, I have, I said my piece, I'm going back, I'm thinking, 9 members is looking to be like herding cats, and even 7 is a lot. So, because people have conflicting schedules and things happen,
And we only have till June 2024 to get it
Right.
done.
But what we'd be asking about the steering committee is, as far as getting everybody together, as you say, herding cats, would be for, I think, 2 meetings between now and June. The rest of that, after those meetings, is take the meeting and now go forth, my friend, and take care of things. I don't really think that's just an informational, it's just to be able to.
Steering committee?
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, no, they'll be meeting monthly.
Monthly.
Yeah, monthly,
Will that be remote or in person?
whichever is preferred.
Whichever works.
Either way, yeah.
so can I ask another question? Like, I would like to see the committee created in a way that makes it easier for you guys. How do you feel like, would be the best way to have the steering committee put together? So I'd like some input from you guys on that.
From working in Hanson before,
Oh, no, everything's changed. It's completely different now. We're not as needy anymore.
I want to say when I did the open space plan, 3 people were optimum, 3 people that were consistent, maybe I think we had 4. 5 to 7, when you start hitting 7, you're going to have quorum issues, you're going to have drop off. So whoever you appoint really has to be committed and attend the few meetings that we have between now and it probably will drop off by March, because by then we'll be, writing the report and
Well,
coming
swing
at
of
the
things.
end. So it's really a very small 6-month window of activity.
Just as another idea, could we do 5 and make 4 of them alternates? Is that possible?
We're going to ask for their input anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little stretching.
We're really just trying to make the quorum part happen for the meetings. Right?
Do 5 members and maybe 3 alternates. if that kind of meets it in the middle or 2 alternates,
So,
then you're not getting too large.
so under the composition we have now, 2 planning, 2
Joanne.
committee at large.
Just got your email.
2 planning, 2 committee at large, and conservation, that would be 5. With alternates being Board of Health, ZBA, Building, Housing Authority.
It's sounding a little better.
Sound a little better?
Not saying that you guys think, because you're the ones that are gonna end up working with all these people, so, you know?
And that, some of those participants will have limited activity where, a planning board member would have a lot more input versus, the housing authority, they're very limited in their scope.
Instead of calling them alternates, do you want to call them point of contacts?
Yeah.
A designated point of contact?
Yeah.
Okay. So, entertain a motion for the Planning Board Master Plan Steering Subcommittee creation of a 5-member subcommittee requesting full attendance, full membership of 2 planning board members, 1 conservation, and 2 community at large to be advertised for filling, with point of contacts at a minimum from the Board of Health, Zoning Board of Appeals, the Building Department, the Housing Authority.
So move.
Composition of that to be chair, vice chair, clerk, so that we can reporting to the planning department and making sure that all filings are with the planning department and OCPC.
So move.
Mr. Kimmett's been made that motion. Mr. Cohen has seconded. Any discussion in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
2 planning board members.
2 planning board members, 2 community at large, 1 conservation. With point of contact, designated point of contacts from Board of Health, ZBA, Building Department, and Housing Authority.
Board of Health, CBA, Building, and Housing.
Town planner, can you make sure that you can construct a letter going out to the select board informing of the creation of the subcommittee,
Yes.
as well as the request for announcement at their Board of, Select Board meeting for the community at large request, and to notify conservation that at the proper time that they can designate somebody at their meeting?
Yes.
As well as the appointment of those point of contacts from the other, so there'll be members at large, point of contacts, so that the deciding board, 2 planning, 2 community at large, and the 1 conservation. I also entertain a motion for 2 volunteers from the planning board. That's where it gets tricky.
I'll do it.
I'll make it easy, I'll do the other one too.
So there's a motion on the floor, a volunteer motion on the floor from Mr. Kevitt and Mr. Cohen to be the planning board representatives for the planning board master plan steering subcommittee. Is there a second? Any discussion in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. We'll also ask for an agenda bullet to be placed from now until March or so.
Who made the motion on that one?
Seconded by Mr. Ellis.
I made the motion.
Second.
The original
That was just a better.
motion?
Oh, the original motion.
No, the letter for the, no, the volunteers. Who made the
Yeah, yeah.
motion? Who made the motion?
So the original was Mr. Kevitt,
Okay.
and seconded by Mr. Benenato.
Yeah, got that.
And then the second one, you asked for a motion.
No, it was a consent, you guys volunteered at the same time. All in one swoop motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
The deed goes unpunished.
so we have a steering subcommittee, we got 5 members, 2 already appointed. We've got some traction with that. Notification will go out to the select board.
I got a question.
Yes, Mr. Ellis.
The last time this was done, didn't the, not company, but the people that were doing it, did the surveys to the public to find out?
I believe so.
Are you planning to do that, or to notify
Yeah.
at meetings and so on? Okay.
We'll put it on your website, and it'll be on our website, and we'll give it to you to advertise. We'll give you some PR materials to leave out to the public with QR codes. Yeah.
We also have the revamp of our website going on, so that'll be a nice big change with that.
So you guys are going to beat the boots on the street?
Unfortunately.
Detail in the street. Any other questions for OCPC?
Yeah, so.
Mr. Cohen.
When would the first meeting be?
So we've got it right now for the end of September, no specific date yet. So we
Okay.
can set that as soon as you know who your committee's going to be, when we can work around schedules.
Perfect, okay.
What meeting nights does the planning board, is it first or third?
Second and fourth Mondays.
So we'll do it opposite, we'll do first and third.
Can I ask you another quick question? I'll try to be brief. I'm looking at the timeline for April of Phase 3, right? And it mentions presentation and discussion on draft master plan. It just seems like public comment is, the period is short. Is that true? Or will people be able to, reach out to the committee and make comments at any time?
So that'll be, so leading up to that public open house, there will be the survey results, the focus group results, the results from the public workshops, the 5 of them, or 4 of them that we did.
Okay.
That will feed into the draft, and then the draft itself will go out to the public. We'll do presentations, it'll be available in hard copy at the library, town hall,
Oh, okay,
etc.
all right.
And then people can actually comment on like the plan itself, as opposed to just kind of broader discussion.
Okay.
And that usually lasts for a period of 30 days. We can always adjust that depending on how things are going along with the public participation and stuff like that. But typically it's out for about a month. And then we'll take the revisions and put those in through the committee, decide what needs to be changed, and then be nearly done.
Oh, thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Look forward to working with you guys.
Thank
It's been
you.
great. Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you guys as well. Thank you.
You want to ask it? Should she have any questions?
If Lee has any questions, please, do you have any questions? Lee?
Sorry. Did I? Just for water. Oh, you have to. No, because I have it electronically.
Thank you, Mr. Clements.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
See you guys.
A little bit behind the schedule. Gentlemen, let's move on our agenda to board business. Board discussion regarding town planner position.
What's there to discuss? You're staying, right?
So first matter of business, if everybody had not received, the town planner's email, the town planner sent an email in regards to rescission of the resignation letter that he had submitted. That is a breath of fresh air. I think that we can all say we are absolutely 100%, Tony, very happy that we decided to stay in Hanson. So a matter of procedure, the chair would entertain a motion to accept the rescission of the resignation of the town planner that had recently been submitted.
I would make that motion.
Mr. Kennett's made a motion.
Second?
Mr. Benenato seconds the motion. Any discussion in regards to the rescission of the resignation, the vote for rescission, the board endorsement for the rescission of the resignation of the town planner? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. In addition to some of the discussions about the town planner's position, what you've had passed out to you is a recent copy of statement of duties and supervision, required supervision responsibility. Basically, it's a write-up for the town planner position. There are a few things that are that needed to be captured and encapsulated inside of this job write-up. As you can see, some of the things about grants that town planner has been working on effortlessly, it seems, although we know that there's a ton of work that goes into it that wasn't encapsulated in the job write-up prior. So there are some changes in regards to the duties, which the town planner, as far as I know, is agreeable with.
Yes.
And I think we have a great job description that we can move forward with. And if there's no other questions or comments in regards to the job write-up, I'll give everybody a few minutes here to review. I'd entertain a motion to defer any decisions in regards to compensation and benefits over to the Wage and Personnel Board. Mr. Ellis.
Who drew this up?
This was drawn up between members of the Select Board, the Town Administrator, myself, and I believe some input from the Town Administrator, Town Planner's Administrative Assistant.
A member of the board, you were.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, there was a recent meeting by the Select Board, and I attended.
So moved for the wage and compensation.
Mr. Benonato has motion that any decisions in regards to comp and pen be forwarded on with our endorsement to the comp and pen board.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I will, with the board's blessing, I will get back with the town administrator in regards to the endorsement of the board for not only deferment and application of the comp and pen, but also that the job description is encompassing of what the board needs. Approval, next on our agenda, approval of July 24, 2023 Planning Board minutes. What is the will of the board?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. Kevin made a motion to approve the minutes for July 24, 2023.
Second.
Mr. Benonato will second that motion. Any discussion in regards to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. 5-0. 7:20, discussion of earth removal application process under section 3-12 of the general bylaws and section 12I of the zoning bylaws. Town planner.
I did some research on the earth removal section of the general bylaw. That's the...
No exhaust truck out there. Sorry, go ahead, say that again.
So I did some research regarding the section of the general bylaw regarding earth removal, because there had come a question regarding fill. And as I read it, there isn't anything in that section that talks about fill. Just removal of material. Sort of which makes sense. And seeing how Hanson was a cranberry growing town, that was always the big thing that would happen. Before a bog went in, usually it turned into a gravel operation, and material would go out, and then it turned to a bog. So they also refer to a application and a fee. So I reached out to the select board, who would be the authority and issue permits for earth removal. They looked in their records, and the last one was 2014 that they had. So, and they do not have any record of any type of fee structure or application structure. So that is one of the things I had sort of put on my list of, to look at and try and come up with an application and a fee structure. And one thing I'm going to do is look at other communities that have earth removal bylaws and potentially have a fee structure and an application structure.
Oh, can I add to that for a minute, if you don't mind?
Mr. Kevin.
I just wanted to, one of the things that I was concerned with, especially with one of the hearings that was, not held tonight, was that, we have a lot of projects that seems like people are bringing infill. Now, I know bringing, fill and removal are two different things, but to the community, the process is pretty much the same, right? So my hope was that if we were to update this bylaw, that it would include that, bringing in the material, because if you think about it, right, you don't know where that material's coming from, the contents of it, so we should have some, like, verbiage, like, you can't get it from here or there, or, there can't be any, because that's actually happened to us up at the county hospital, where material was dropped off that was actually contaminated from another site.
Yeah.
So, it'd be worth it to codify that as well.
Yeah, I'm actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I actually am going to look at other communities and reach out to see what, I want us to be able to craft, obviously, some kind of general bylaw that is, obviously meets the law, because most of the time earth removal is just that, it's the removal. I want to look in and see, do a little research as to, has anyone created a bylaw regarding fill, especially lots of it? So that's part of the process.
So my other thought, if you don't mind, is, you know, really the selectmen, right, and I've been through this, because we had an earth removal permit, the one I think you're referring to in 2014, where the selectmen that were there had very little knowledge of the process. You know, it was difficult, because they were having a hard time making the decision, because they don't really bother with all this kind of stuff now all of a sudden. So I wonder if it's possible to maybe move those hearings to the planning board, where they ultimately really belong, right? So I don't know if that's something that can be done or not.
Yeah, I'll have to research that to see statutorily who is it just the select board that should be the ones, or can be the ones? Is it statutorily required that it's the select board?
Right.
Let's say for some reason it is there a way to craft a bylaw that says, okay, it's statutorily the select board, but at least maybe planning board input?
Yeah, deferment.
Yeah, like, but to have it like,
Endorsement by the planning board.
yeah, like in writing saying like, you know, at least they would consider what we had to say about what we thought, you know, like maybe we could have some kind of hearing on the subject or something. And I also know that, you know, some of these cut and fills and stuff are in conservation areas, which that brings in their jurisdictional stuff as well. So I think there's a little bit of thinking to go there, because, you know, I can envision a project where, you know, not only it's got to go through, you know, planning, and it's got to go through, you know, conservation as well.
Right.
And so there's a lot of moving parts there, I think, that, you know, could be fixed, because maybe if you went back in the minutes to that hearing, you might be like, oh boy.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to reach out to some other, through the Mass Planner Forum, and look at other communities and say, hey, what, you know, what are other communities, have they done, and get some feedback, so I could have a starting point, do some research. And,
I've got a question, because the planning board, we really, when we have subdivisions come in, we have to control over that. So it'd be fairly easy for us to determine what's being removed, or request for the amount that's being removed and the amount that's coming in for the road base and et cetera, and on the building lots and stuff. Now, building permits always has been through the building department, so a normal house being built on a Form A lot didn't require permits and so on, because usually it's just digging the first cellar hole, as you know.
Yeah.
And maybe bringing in some fill around it and some loam that might not have, or something like that. It's a small amount, and it would kind of burden, I think, the building inspector and everybody else if you had to do a form to require exactly what you're pulling out, what you're not doing.
well, I think you could, the form would be, it'd be certain amount over. So let's say, for discussion purposes, 0 to 200 yards of fill, there's no fee, there's no application. If you're going to do 200 to 500, you know, I know I'm not a big fan of feeing people to death, but unfortunately, as a municipality, you have to find a way to create income.
Sure.
So, you know, let's say, just for discussion purposes, okay, if it's 200 to 500 yards of material coming in, you pay $1,500 or whatever. You know, anything above 500 to 1,000, you know, just some kind of structure.
Well, if you're doing a subdivision, they can absorb that. But the thing that I feel, you know, we're trying to keep the cost of homes down to make it affordable for people, first home buyers and things like that. That it's an extra cost that's going to be passed on to them, obviously. And if I myself don't think it's necessary to start charging for a single Form A house on that's not in a subdivision. When you're in a subdivision, it's totally different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just saying, that's why I'm saying, if you have an amount, so if it's 0 to 250 or 500 cubic yards of material coming in, there's no fee.
Commercial.
Yeah.
Can I add to that? Because I know.
But if you're going over a certain amount and you know,
1 million yards.
something, some amount, some large, an amount,
Yeah, no,
for instance.
something reasonable.
Right, so for instance, let's say this particular project that was on the agenda this evening, they're gonna bring in a substantial amount of fill. If there was an application in the fee structure for saying, okay, how much fill are they bringing in? And they were bringing in 100,000 yards.
Yeah.
Then okay, maybe you can get an application and a fee for an amount.
And then you also have the septic systems. A lot of these septic systems, because of the poor soils around here, require a lot of material coming in and material going out.
Yeah, I'm not looking to burden a homeowner on a single family. This is just, we're talking about projects.
Yeah, project.
Big projects.
So could we do the idea of like similar other bylaws where if you, anything under an acre, right, is exempt from this, or, because like most lots are 1 acre, right, minimum anyway. So if you get a project where there's like 6 or 7 acres and they're talking about bringing in, 20 truckloads of material, then, you could take a look at it, but the 1 acre thing, I think, would cover 90%, like most of the septic systems that would be redone, and, landscaping and things like that, yeah. Yeah, it depends on the
Somehow
wording,
have
but,
2 or 3 acres.
Yeah.
Can we also try to get a staff chart from highway about, like, over the past, I don't know, 5 years, how much material they've purchased? Because if it's a smarter move and smarter money, that the highway department purchase a screen home, and that materials that are taken up go over the highway, and then it can be screened out, and you get, that way we don't have the fee for the town to have to purchase aggregate or whatever, I don't know how.
They talk about if there's earth removal, some of it goes to the town.
Yeah.
I would have to look into that. I'm not sure the ethics,
Legality,
the legalities of that.
well, what we could do is, I know, like, when you look at the water department, up on Industrial Way, they have a site up there where they're dumping material for years, right? So, I don't know anything about it, I'm not complaining.
No, they dump it and use it, dump it and use it. They
Yeah,
take
dump it and use it, it's constantly in motion.
Yeah, right.
So, isn't it possible, much like the leaf dump that they have down at the, the transfer station, where if somebody has nowhere, they got like 10 yards of material, they could reach out to the highway department and there'd be a place where they could put it, if the highway department wanted it. I mean, you gotta be careful, because you don't wanna, like, have a huge mound somewhere that now you don't know what to do with.
But an emergency repair, if they need to get 1-inch stone somewhere and there was a pile of it that was screened out, that because of earth removal, then they.
Yeah, you just have to be careful. I mean, the highway department, they do have stockpiles of material on their own site.
Yeah.
You just have to be careful of something like that. One is the legalities. 2, you want to know, again, like you said before, where's that material coming from?
Yep.
Is someone going to certify where it's coming from?
Okay.
And then also, when you start creating these piles, realistically and technically, if it's near a wetland, you should have erosion control around it to protect any runoff into the wetland.
Right.
I'm
So,
glad you said that.
under the stormwater management policy.
Yeah,
So,
Mr. Ellis.
You take into consideration the Farm Act, or these farmers pulling in material and pulling material out? What comes under their jurisdiction from the state versus the town?
I haven't looked into any of that, so I don't have an answer to that question.
Take a look. Any
Because
other
I know,
discussion for-
I'm sorry, because I know under farming, that's a whole different animal of what they can and can't do. I think we're looking more like a project that's coming before the town for some kind of permitting, a subdivision,
Right.
cranberry bog. That usually that's where it tends to be. A gravel pit,
40B.
so,
They bring in material, the sand all the time,
right.
and if they have stuff on there, they stockpile it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not a big fan of feeing people to death, because in the private sector, seeing it was always, fee for this, a fee for that. You just fee you to death.
There's a great space for material collection, as long as there was erosion control, I think, on Hawks Ave.
Oh, boy.
Any other discussion in regards to earth removal application? So,
Just one other quick thing I wanted to bring up, because, you know, I know like the average dump truck's what, 30, 40 yards? Right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a project over a certain amount of yards, right, you have to start looking at how many vehicles are gonna be coming in and out of that site, right? Other than that, what difference does it make? You know what I mean? We just have to make sure that, you know, when the trucks start rolling, that the people that live in the community have some say as to maybe what the hours are, you know? Because I know, there was mention in there, like Saturdays, you know? Well, maybe the people in the community, because they got kids riding bikes and things like that, they don't want somebody on there, you know, rolling, you know, 40-yard containers up and down the road on a Saturday, so.
Yeah, I
Gives
think
them the
that's,
opportunity.
yeah,
you know?
I think that's
That's
all
really-
something that you have to look at, you know,
Yeah.
and regarding hours of operation. And so this would all, you know, we'd tackle all this and there'd be a draft of it. It would go to town council for review, and then you're talking about something that would be potentially, if we can work through it, at next May's town meeting.
Okay.
I just have one more thing to add.
let's go.
We have the title as earth removal, but we're talking about dumping or adding earth as well. Is there a way to just change the title to reflect that?
Yeah, so we're gonna have a draft document.
Oh, it's gonna be
going forward,
forward.
so we've already talked about that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's gonna happen.
Yep.
Mr. Ellis?
Can you do anything about that up at the curve on Liberty Street where the asphalt guy is? And
There is something being done
good.
through,
Such a sore site.
there is something, my understanding is there's something being done through the building department regarding that site.
Good. This doesn't look good. You're driving into Hanson and that's coming around the corner.
And that's a tough curve. That's a tough curve there.
You know, who cares what people do, but he should at least put a fence.
Screen it.
You know, screen it in or something,
Right.
you know?
So that,
Moving on to board member subcommittee updates. Open space, I reached out to Mr. Clemens. Mr. Clemens is gonna reach out to the other former board members, and he's supposed to get back to me. If he's still here, I'm probably gonna hear something from him tonight. OCBC as an alternate, I didn't attend. I think this may come up. Is it Wednesday?
at the end of the month, I believe.
Yeah, it's the end of the month.
No, actually, you know what? I think they were off for the summer.
It's not till, right.
I
it's
think
not
the next
till
one, I
September.
think the next one's September.
So nothing from OCPC except for the representations tonight. Mr. Ellis?
Nothing's, the progress is still going on. There's nothing much to answer. We had a meeting.
Can I ask you a question? Who's the chairman? I think I asked it before.
Yeah, for High Street
Yeah,
Park
you
Committee?
you asked me last week. It was
Mr. Weeks.
Joe Weeks.
Yeah, Mr. Weeks.
No, we
Did-
still
did you
working
have-
on it. I have a big problem. Anybody here know any weld companies?
Wow companies?
Yeah.
The only one that I know of is down at Carver, and he told me that he's a year and a half out.
Yeah. Trying to find somebody to come up and test the old well, if it's the hospital, see if it's viable or not. And if it's not, then we'll have to come back and do wells, but.
Could they put it on as a public
Everybody,
bid?
either is too busy or they don't do it.
I could talk to the town administrator about that.
Put it on the website as a public bid
RFP.
request?
Yeah, we could do a request for proposal, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. how about that? Put a request for proposal on the town website.
Yeah, but you're gonna pay, I was looking for somebody local, you know?
The only guy I know is down at Carver, he's only a year and a half
I
out.
think there's, I'm not
You
sure.
really get what you pay for.
One other area first, there's somebody on the water department that has a well business, but it takes a different person other than a well driver to come in with pumps.
Yeah, prime it and all that.
Yeah. Some of them do it, but some of them don't. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Did you have a quorum at your last meeting?
Yes,
Okay, good. That's good.
otherwise you couldn't do anything.
No. Mr. Cohen, economic development.
Not too much of an update, except for just a reminder of Hanson Day coming up September 16th. We're still planning that and looking for vendors. Just a note on the vendors, we are allowing people to sell products this year as far as economic development. Food trucks are welcome.
Yeah, food truck,
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that.
Thank you. Mr. Kimmer, CPC.
We're on summer hiatus.
Summer hiatus.
Won't be, our next meeting, I believe, is September 14th, it's the second Wednesday.
Jay.
Yeah, well, I'll second. Go ahead, your next meeting is when?
September 14th, I believe.
9/14, thank you. All right, we'll have back for you at 9/14. Mr. Bernal, drainage and stormwater.
Yeah, the alternate disappeared after the last town meeting, so I'm gonna try re-engaging in September.
Okay.
Well, I know two areas in the town that
Oh, yeah.
you, one's that, one's King.
So is drainage just not holding meetings? They're just not holding any meetings?
I'll thank you for your updates, everybody. Town planner.
So first thing is the MBTA regulations. I'm still working on those. I did receive confirmation from Katie Lacey that we'll be receiving grant money and working with a company called VHB.
VHB?
VHB
VHB.
to assist with sort of getting us to the finish line.
Okay.
I'm hoping to have a public hearing on those regulations on September 11th. I have to just double check with the Whitman Hanson Express, to present the regulations in the district that's been created and so forth.
Isn't like, just throwing it out there, September 11th is kind of one of those days you might have trouble getting people to show up. I don't know, is it like a high holiday? Or?
It's one of those, yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to, we have to get this done, obviously, by the end of next year, but still we have to get something in by next May we have two shots as far as the zoning would be next May and next October.
Okay.
So I'd like to try and get us in for next May. So, I'm going to talk to the Whitman Hanson Express because I was hoping to get an ad in this Thursday, but the deadline may have been today.
Yeah,
So
well.
I have to check with them. But at some point, it's either going to be the beginning of September or the end of September to have a public hearing so that, we can present, sort of put it out there.
Okay.
And if people want to come in and ask questions or discuss it. Stonewall Estates, the warrant article, I wrote up the warrant article and presented and passed that along to the select board with all the relative information. Once it was reviewed, the article was reviewed and edited by town council. The edited version, along with all the other relevant information, was passed along to the select board. So it is going to be a warrant on the October town meeting. I also have made town council, a member of town council had reached out looking for some additional information, which I passed along. They wanted copies of the subdivision plans, which I passed along to them. And I also made them aware that we have Mylars in-house that we could get to them to record once it's accepted.
That's Stonewall Estates, AKA.
Litchfield Lane and Proudfoot Way.
Thank you.
1489 Main Street, I know there've been some questions regarding a flared end that sort of empties out onto Main Street, especially after some of the downpours. So the drainage that you're looking at is actually part of the roadway drainage. There's a set of catch basins further up the road, and that is connected to that flared end. And that was done when that project went in and was actually approved by the town. So one thing I did do was reach out to the company that prepared the plans, and if you give me a minute.
So 1489 Main Street for the board is the property located across the street from the Meadowbrook Restaurant?
So I reached out to Mackenzie Engineering Group via email on August the 9th, and Mr. Al Loomis from Mackenzie responded on August 9th, and he writes, "Hi, Mr. DeFrias. I have reviewed our files and find as-built plans for the septic systems and the various phases of the condominium documents. Foundation as-built plans, but do not find anything that includes the flared end section at the front of the property. I had asked if they had had any site as-built for their drainage or any of their infrastructure." That pipe was installed to allow for the driveway entrance into the site and to improve the situation with the drainage within Main Street. Now, when he says that pipe was installed to allow for the driveway entrance, what he means is that the driveway entrance ended prior, I'm sorry, the pipe ended prior to their proposed driveway entrance. So what they did is they were allowed to extend the pipe below where their driveway is.
Main drive.
The main driveway.
Main drive.
As you highlighted, the pipe originates at the two catch basins in Main Street, but previously flowed to a pipe end that was buried. The runoff from the catch basins previously flowed through the pipe and bubbled up through a small hole in the ground and then flowed overland. The developer spoke with the highway director at the time and arrived at this solution. So what you're seeing is, again, it's street drainage. It's not anything to do with the site drainage. What makes it look, I think what makes it look so prominent is, one, the driveway to one of the units that comes off of Main Street was never proposed on the original plans.
It's never approved, right?
So that driveway is, let's say, not supposed to be there.
Not supposed to be there, right?
And then the second, what may make it so more prominent, especially since with all the rain we've had, is the fact that all the new pavement, since how Main Street has now been repaved, you're probably getting some better flow, so you're probably seeing some more, some discharge coming from the road there. I've spoke to the highway superintendent, and he's going to look at trying to come up with some improvements to that, try and prevent it, let's say, from getting into that driveway and then going into the street and running down the street. So, but all the information I have at this point is that that's our own drainage, and it actually was allowed to do that. Now, it was supposed to extend towards beyond that, just to the property line of that site, but it wasn't.
The driveway was put in.
Yeah.
So the contributing factor to how it looks is the fact that it's vegetated. The landscaper dumps grass and leaves in it, which has allowed it to overgrow. And then the fourth thing about it, probably the worst egregious thing, is that now the outflow from that, well, two things. One, the outflow from that comes up onto Main Street, flows down, and there's no Cape Cod berm, so it flows onto private property, which would be Brookside Avenue, Brookside Drive. Thank you, Brookside Drive, thank you. Brookside Drive, and all of that water dumped into the first catch basin on the easterly side of Brookside Drive, which now contributes to water displacement on the Brookside project, which, as well as the whatever runoff is coming off Main Street, is now going into that. And then the second thing about it is that there was a question proposed to me by a constituent. Had anybody ever surveyed the pipe? Has anybody ever checked and looked up about 15 feet in that pipe, maybe scoped it with a camera? Because there's speculation that the roof runoff from 1489 Main Street was somehow tied in a side, poke into that water main, or that drainage pipe. So those are the two major concerns, that now we have town runoff going into a private project, which obviously violates stormwater. It looks like junk, and it's obviously in failure about how it looks. The driveway that's never been approved, should it be there, should it not be there? I'd have to say we'd have to defer that to enforcement, zoning enforcement, to figure it out.
Can I add to that?
What is it?
If you're standing at,
The exit.
It's on the screen.
yeah, you could actually, yeah, if you want, you can also pull up in the Google Drive.
Okay, this is the one that comes right out of, in front of Meadowbrook.
That's right. So the main drive right there in the center, that's the main drive. So Tony was saying that it was explained that because the outflow originally was over here somewhere, that blocked that main drive going in, so it was extended down, which now there's a driveway here, a private driveway here, or next to the outflow. It was actually supposed to be here, somewhere down here, where it percolated up. But that driveway going in obviously shortened it up here. Now, there's a question in regards to, I can't see it on here. There's a box.
Is Mr. Chair, like,
Yes, yes.
right here where the cursor is?
Thank you.
That is the infiltration system for the catch basin. So there's a catch basin here, and there's an infiltration system here for the drainage. So what you're seeing here, that's for the roof.
That's a roof runoff there, yeah.
This one's the roof. This is for the pavement. And so there's
It's
infiltrates.
not working.
So this flared end is actually probably up here somewhere.
It is now, yeah, because
Yeah.
that's the drive is right here. The driveway.
Right, the driveway is
There's a
right
little
here.
retention wall right there in the driveway. It's never supposed to have a driveway here. It was never supposed to be an entrance in that unit two from this side. It was supposed to be you park here and then walk along and go into the building, not a driveway.
Hey, Joe, can I add to this?
Yeah, Mr. Kemp.
I think what I might be saying is relevant here. What's on the as-built, right, is not what's on site. Right?
100%.
And I have an email from the actual person who did this work stating that that was true, right? And that he got permission from the highway surveyor to put that culvert there because it interfered with his driveway. And none of that, like, and so the first problem, right, is the highway surveyor has approved something on a state roadway, right, that's not in keeping with stormwater management, first of all. He is not authorized to make that decision, first of all, right? And that's in the law. I mean, he's the highway surveyor, but that doesn't give him the ability to change stormwater management. And in that email that I'm going to forward to you, I talked to the conservation agent, right, who, and his concern, right, is that point source load that's coming out onto the road is less than 200 feet away from the river, right? And other culverts on where Paul lives, whatever the name of that project is. So this whole thing was ill-conceived and ill-designed, and the original designers who did the as-built, right, were not even consulted on these changes. And I can prove that in a simple email, which I will forward to you as soon as I can find it, right? So his report was in handwritten for some bizarre reason, but he, you know, him and I were both in agreement that that thing should have never been put where it was because of that.
And then,
Okay.
and then,
So-
and then this.
This is,
Is
this,
that the roof runoff right here?
no, so what you're looking at is, so I'll approach the screen here.
There's a concern that the roof
So
runoff
this is,
goes here. This is not here.
this is the roof.
Yep.
of the building. That one's for the roof of the building, okay? That one.
That's far back.
Was for all the roof runoff. So what you're seeing here,
Are those leaching chambers?
those are probably leaching chambers. So what you see here
Mhm.
is, I believe it's a stone, probably stone pipe, or it could be chambers. So there's a catch basin here. So this runoff comes here, it's picked up into that catch basin. and
That goes down?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
So,
So it infiltrates here.
so there's a concern then that it's probably here that's tied in, here, this way.
Well, the only way to see that would be, yes, to scope that.
Yeah,
out.
scope this.
So there's information in the file regarding this and how it was proposed, and I think PMP was as the reviewer at the time, or maybe part of the project. And so there is information regarding this and how this was discussed and how this was carried through. So again, this is where it was supposed to go.
Yeah, it's over here.
This is probably here.
Yeah.
So you have that driveway that's there right now.
Yeah, the driveway goes to just to the right of the building. So there's some area right there, that's the driveway. And this is probably right above there. So this whole project here, not under our jurisdiction as far as the planning board, this is absolutely within our jurisdiction of the planning board.
Right, so the thing is, but I just want to, just so you know that this was all discussed as part of the process when that project was done.
Why was there no deferment to the planning board about that catch basin? That's what I don't understand.
I'd have to pull the file, but the research I did is that all was discussed during the process.
Is that on the M4 or something like that, whatever they call it?
MS4, we're going back a while.
Yeah.
I have to, like I said, it's been a while since I went through the file, but there are letters that talk about this in between the approving authority.
So I think the problem that everybody is all worked up about, just, you know, so we're all clear, is that, you know, with, you know, Don's talking about the MS4, which is correct. right? That has to be added to the MS4 permitting, right? Because it was approved by the ZBA and with the advice of their consultant, who was absolutely wrong, because that doesn't fit into any kind of stormwater management. So, and it's one of those things, every time you drive by, you look at it and go, oh my God, what the hell is that thing? Because if you had those all over town, you know, like in what, I think it's 28, the state is saying no more, freebies. If it's not correct, it's gonna have to be corrected, right? And it'll be fines that will go with that and everything else. So for us to be permitting this type of drainage stuff, and I know of 3 or 4 locations already where this has already occurred. So, I don't know, as a planning board and the people that are supposed to be taking care of stormwater management, I'm confused as to why this is allowed to go through without us seeing it. So that's really, one of the little issues that go with this. I mean, the engineer could say, this is where the culvert is, we designed it that way, but it's not designed according to that. And I'm gonna send you that email and we'll explain it.
Yeah, the flared end is definitely not where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that driveway is there, and that's not supposed to be. So now, even if let's say the driveway wasn't there, I think I'm going to say their intent on their design, because you could see what was done back in the day. They put the 2 catch basins in, and then they put a pipe and they daylighted it. So I'm going to speculate that along the side of the road somewhere there was maybe some kind of swale, or I don't know. And so they just figured that that's what they're trying to carry through when they did that,
Oh, can I make a suggestion? I don't know the process in ZBA, but with that MS4 permitting, I think we should be reaching out to the DEP to make sure that this is in keeping with what their plans are for the future and what their expectations are with stormwater management. Because, it's above our pay grade at this point, right? Because if the DEP says that, you can't do that on a roadway, then they'll reach out to them and tell them, you gotta fix this, right?
Yeah, I believe that, I know that the highway superintendent has been working with environmental partners regarding the MS4 compliance, and I know that environmental partners has been doing a lot of work, or has done a lot of work, going through a lot of the existing drainage system in town.
Right.
I could reach out to him and find out what the status, or not status, and have they gone to this and inspected it and come up with comments.
Yeah, could you ask me to put that on the front burner?
Yep.
Mr. Ellis had a question.
I think I got an answer.
So it's two catch basins, 2
Yeah.
town catch basins. Oh, right on the crest.
Goes to town,
Yeah, those are town catch basins. That's right on the crest of the
street,
road.
and it goes down into somebody's property.
It's that catch basin under the road to the second catch basin and then down.
This way.
Nope, other way, to the right.
All goes to the right, and down the street.
Yeah, it
Down to the foot.
goes down to that outflow. So
Yeah,
when
this-
it comes out of that outflow, it goes on to,
Yeah,
heavy enough flow goes on
yeah.
the Brookside.
This was done back in the days of, you can't do it anymore, but this was done back in the days of, this is what towns, and even the Commonwealth did. Throw in a set of catch basins, put an outflow, there you go.
There you go.
No, that was common.
You're right, it was. And
Is that outflow though, is that outflow in the roadway layout?
If you look at the
It looks like.
pavement that was paved recently, yes.
yeah, I think,
It's in the tree belt. Absolutely.
when I've driven by there, I'd say it's in the layout, yes.
So what happens is the outflow, with the rain that we've recently seen, the outflow started to flow out of that, went down to Brookside, which was already full, and then from Brookside, it went down to Stump Brook.
And I think, like I said, again, I think you're seeing that intensity increase because of the fact that it's new pavement.
Sure. 100%.
So let me ask you a question then. If it's dry for a month, right, all those culverts downstream of that outflow, right,
It's only one.
how many storms would it take to fill up that culvert and have it come out of that outlet?
One.
Because if, like an inch of rain flows, right, there's water coming out of that. So, and to Joe's point, that just tells me that, if you go down to the culvert down the other end and there's nothing in it, and there's water flowing out of there and an inch of rain storm, that means somebody's illegally hooked something up to it,
Well,
right? And that's,
yeah,
I
I
think,
mean,
the thing that people are concerned with. So why can't we just make sure that that's not true? And if it is true, then they're gonna have to fix it.
Sorry.
right, I mean, that would be done, that would be done, you know, scoping it. That's one way to do
Yeah,
it.
can you ask how to put that on the front burner, because it's
Dump some dye down there and see where it comes out.
it's like a lighthouse beacon every time it rains. Thank you.
It's just dumb, looks bad. Whoever owns it,
It was illegal.
shouldn't it?
Driveway's not supposed to be.
No, that's the whole thing is in the information from what I remember, this was discussed. This was discussed and this was the solution that they came up with. So,
We have some invoices?
Yes.
Can't waited all this time.
So Joe, you get to send those all yourself?
Yeah.
True.
This is Kim Stipend.
Yeah.
What do you guys spend?
Yeah, Con, I sent you that, an email.
Right? And envelopes.
Anything else, Tom Planner?
Guess not, let's go.
no, sir, not.
Next tentative meeting will be Monday, August 28th. Will of board?
Make the motion for our next planning board meeting to be August 28th.
Motion's been made for August 28th to be our next meeting date.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Bernardo. Any discussion in regards to that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? We will have our next meeting on Monday, August 28th.
I just have to say one thing.
Mr. Ellis.
There was a time when we didn't have meetings in the summer.
Okay.
I'm all for it. Let's put it, I'm all for it because in the private sector, yeah, the summertime we weren't really busy with meetings. We were busy with construction. It was the fall, winter, and spring that you were going to the meetings.
People were on vacation.
I mean, it's been based on a need. If there was a case of not a need, I probably would suggest to the board if they would like to take a meeting off. And that's up to the will of the board at any time if they choose to not have a meeting.
Sure. Anybody else have anything for good of the order? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Bernardo has made a motion to adjourn, second by Mr. Ellis. Any questions in regards to that motion or discussion in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. It is 8:22. We are adjourned.
This is like a record.